It was a bitterly cold December night, the kind that seeped into your bones and chilled you to the core. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows of the old cabin nestled deep in the snowy woods. Inside, a small group of friends huddled around a crackling fire, seeking warmth and solace from the relentless winter storm outside. Little did they know, the true horror awaited them in the icy embrace of the night. The frozen lake. As the fire crackled and popped, casting eerie shadows across the cabin walls, Sarah recounted the legend of the frozen lake that lay just beyond the trees. It was said that the spirits of those who had perished in its icy depths still roamed the shores on cold winter nights, seeking vengeance on anyone foolish enough to venture too close. Despite the warnings, the group decided to brave the frozen wilderness and explore the lake for themselves. Armed with nothing but flashlights and a sense of adventure, they trudged through the snow-laden forest until they reached the edge of the icy expanse. The frozen lake stretched out before them, an otherworldly landscape of shimmering ice and swirling snow. As they cautiously made their way across its surface, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence descended upon the group. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the stillness of the night, echoing across the frozen lake. Terrified, the friends turned to flee. But it was too late. The icy grip of the lake had claimed them, pulling them down into its frigid depths to join the restless souls that lurked below. The cabin in the woods. As the storm raged on outside, Mark regaled the group with tales of the abandoned cabin that supposedly lay hidden deep within the woods. According to local legend, the cabin was once home to a reclusive family who had mysteriously vanished one winter, leaving behind nothing but whispers of strange happenings and ghostly apparitions. Intrigued by the story, the friends set out to find the elusive cabin, determined to uncover the truth behind its dark history. Guided only by the light of their flashlights, they stumbled through the snow-covered forest, the trees looming ominously overhead. After hours of wandering, they stumbled upon the cabin, its weather-beaten exterior standing as a silent sentinel against the relentless march of time. As they cautiously stepped inside, they were met with a scene of utter desolation, rotting furniture, tattered curtains, and the lingering stench of decay. But as they explored further, they soon realized they were not alone. Whispers echoed through the empty rooms, and shadowy figures darted just beyond the edge of their vision. Panic set in as they realized the truth. The cabin was haunted by the vengeful spirits of its former inhabitants, trapped for eternity in a cycle of torment and despair. Desperate to escape, the friends fled into the night, their screams drowned out by the howling wind as the cabin faded into the darkness behind them. The Wendigo's curse. As the fire dwindled to embers, Emily recounted the chilling tale of the Wendigo, a malevolent spirit said to roam the winter wilderness, preying on unsuspecting travelers foolish enough to venture into its domain. According to legend, the Wendigo was once a human, driven mad by the insatiable hunger that consumed them during a harsh winter famine. In their desperation, they resorted to cannibalism, consuming the flesh of their fellow villagers and invoking a curse that transformed them into a monstrous creature of ice and snow. As Emily spoke, a sense of unease settled over the group, and they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Outside, the wind howled like a beast in the night, and the shadows danced menacingly against the cabin walls. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the forest, shaking the very foundations of the cabin. Terrified, the friends rushed to secure the doors and windows, but it was already too late. The Wendigo had found them, its icy breath seeping through the cracks in the walls as it closed in for the kill. With nowhere left to run, the friends huddled together in terror as the creature's chilling embrace enveloped them, dragging them into the darkness of the winter night. As dawn broke on the horizon, the cabin stood silent and empty, a testament to the horrors that lurked in the depths of the winter wilderness. And as the snow continued to fall, blanketing the forest in a shroud of white, The true winter horror stories were whispered among the trees, a warning to all who dared to brave the cold embrace of December's icy grip. The rain came down in sheets, beating against the windshield of Emily's car as she drove down the desolate highway. The only light came from the flickering street lamps, casting eerie shadows that danced across the road. Emily gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles turning white with tension. She had always hated driving alone at night, especially in weather like this. But she had no choice. She had to get home. As she drove, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was as if there were eyes lurking just beyond the edge of the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She glanced nervously at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone or something sitting in the back seat. But the back seat was empty, save for a few scattered belongings. Emily tried to push the feeling of unease to the back of her mind, focusing instead on the road ahead. But then she saw it. A figure standing by the side of the road, barely visible through the rain. It was a woman, her long hair plastered to her face, her clothes drenched and clinging to her body. Emily hesitated for a moment, debating whether to stop and offer the woman a ride. But something about her seemed off, and a shiver ran down Emily's spine. She decided to keep driving, telling herself that someone else would surely come along soon and help the woman. But as Emily drove on, the feeling of guilt gnawed at her. What if the woman was in trouble? What if she needed help? Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she had made a mistake by not stopping. She glanced in the rearview mirror again, half expecting to see the woman standing there, accusing her with her eyes. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the road ahead, and Emily slammed on the brakes. There, in the middle of the road, was the woman. Emily swerved to avoid her, the car skidding dangerously on the wet pavement. She came to a stop just inches from the woman, her heart pounding in her chest. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, the woman raised her head, and Emily gasped in horror. The woman's face was twisted in a grotesque grin, her eyes empty and soulless. And then, before Emily could react, the woman vanished into the darkness, leaving behind nothing but a trail of waterlogged footprints. Shaken but determined to get home, Emily continued driving. But now, every shadow seemed to conceal some unseen horror, and every sound sent a shiver down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being followed, that something was lurking just out of sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As she drove on, the storm only seemed to intensify, the rain coming down harder than ever. Emily could barely see through the windshield now, the wipers struggling to keep up with the deluge. She was about to pull over and wait out the worst of the storm when she saw it, a figure standing in the middle of the road, illuminated by the dim glow of her headlights. Emily's blood ran cold as she realized that it was the same woman she had seen before. But this time, there was something different about her, something more sinister. The woman's eyes seemed to glow with an otherworldly light, and her grin stretched impossibly wide across her face. Emily slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop just inches from the woman. She stared at her in horror, unable to tear her gaze away. And then, without warning, the woman lunged forward, her hands grasping for Emily's throat. With a scream, Emily threw the car into reverse, backing away from the woman as fast as she could. But the woman was relentless, pursuing her with an unnatural speed. Emily drove faster, her heart pounding in her chest, her mind racing with fear. Just when she thought she couldn't go on any longer, Emily saw it, the lights of a gas station up ahead. With a surge of relief, she pulled into the parking lot, skidding to a stop in front of the convenience store. She stumbled out of the car, her breath coming in ragged gasps, her hands shaking with fear. Inside the store, Emily tried to explain what had happened to the clerk behind the counter, but he just stared at her blankly, his eyes filled with disbelief. He told her that she was the only person to have come through all night, that there was no sign of anyone else on the road. But Emily knew what she had seen. She knew that the woman was real, that she had been there, lurking in the darkness, waiting for her. And as she stood there, trembling with fear, she couldn't shake the feeling that the woman was still out there, somewhere, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. And so, as the storm raged on outside, Emily huddled in the safety of the gas station, praying for morning to come and for the nightmare to finally be over. But deep down, she knew that some horrors were too terrifying to be confined to the darkness of night. And that, perhaps, was the most frightening thought of all. It was a bitter December evening when the small town of Everwood found itself blanketed in a thick layer of snow. The streets were deserted, save for a few brave souls hurrying home to escape the biting cold. But amidst the twinkling Christmas lights and festive decorations, something sinister lurked in the shadows, waiting to unleash its terror upon the unsuspecting residents. In the heart of Everwood stood an old, dilapidated mansion known as Blackwood Manor. Legend had it that the mansion was cursed, its walls holding secrets darker than the night itself. For years, the townsfolk whispered tales of strange happenings within its walls, of eerie lights flickering in the windows long after midnight had passed. As Christmas drew near, the air was thick with anticipation and fear. The children of Everwood dared each other to approach Blackwood Manor, but none had the courage to step foot inside. That is until a group of teenagers, fueled by bravado and curiosity, decided to spend the night within its haunted halls. Among them was Sarah, a bold and adventurous soul with a penchant for the supernatural. She had always been drawn to the mysteries of Blackwood Manor, and now, with her friends in tow, she was determined to uncover the truth behind its terrifying reputation. The night began innocently enough, with laughter and jokes echoing through the empty corridors. But as the hours passed and the temperature plummeted, a sense of unease settled over the group. Strange noises echoed from the darkness, whispers carried on the icy wind, and shadows danced in the flickering candlelight. Despite their growing fear, the teenagers pressed on, exploring every inch of the mansion in search of answers. But the deeper they delved into its secrets, the more they realized that they were not alone. The presence lurked in the shadows, watching their every move with malevolent intent. As midnight approached, Sarah and her friends gathered in the grand ballroom, hoping to uncover the truth behind Blackwood Manor's curse. But their investigations were cut short when a bone-chilling scream echoed through the halls, sending shivers down their spines. Racing to the source of the sound, they discovered a hidden staircase leading down into the bowels of the mansion. With trembling hands and pounding hearts, they descended into the darkness, unaware of the horrors that awaited them below. What they found was beyond their worst nightmares. A chamber bathed in blood-red light, adorned with sinister symbols and arcane artifacts. And at its center stood a figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes burning with unholy fire. Before they could react, the figure spoke, its voice a chilling whisper that echoed through the chamber. "You have trespassed upon sacred ground," it intoned, its words dripping with malice. "Now, you shall suffer the consequences." With a flick of its wrist, the figure unleashed a wave of darkness that engulfed the teenagers, dragging them into a nightmare realm where reality and illusion blurred together in a twisted dance of terror. For hours, they wandered through the darkness, pursued by unseen horrors and tormented by their deepest fears. But just as all hope seemed lost, Sarah remembered the true meaning of Christmas, the power of love, friendship, and hope. Gathering her courage, she confronted the darkness that threatened to consume them, calling upon the light within her heart to banish the shadows once and for all. And as the first light of dawn broke through the darkness, Blackwood Manor stood silent once more, its curse lifted by the power of Christmas magic. As the teenagers emerged from the mansion's crumbling ruins, they knew that they had witnessed something truly extraordinary, a Christmas miracle born from the depths of despair. And though the memory of that fateful night would haunt them for the rest of their days, they knew that they had faced their fears and emerged stronger for it. For in the end, it was not the darkness that defined them, but the light that shone within their hearts. a light that would guide them through even the darkest of nights. And as they returned to the warmth and safety of their homes, they knew that they would never forget the true meaning of Christmas, the triumph of hope over despair, and the enduring power of love to conquer even the greatest of horrors.